in your church and you know, well, why can't I live like that? You can't tell me you sit in church and you don't be like, well, why can't I live like my pastor? Why can't I live like my first lady?
I'm pretty sure they don't want me to be there because I said Christianity, the church. I said that.
You don't even go to this church. How you gonna tell me how to pastor this church? How about you ain't even saved? How you gonna tell me how to pastor this church?
Gospel singer LeAndria Johnson has just dropped a bombshell about Pastor Creflo Dollar, and it is shaking the church world to its core. After years of keeping quiet, she is finally speaking out, and her revelations are nothing short of jaw-dropping. What she has uncovered about one of America's most controversial megachurch pastors is sending shockwaves through the gospel community. Stay with us, because this story is one you cannot miss. LeAndria Johnson is known for her bold honesty and unfiltered approach to faith. Unlike many gospel artists who polish their public image, LeAndria has always been real, sharing her struggles with addiction, the challenges of being a gospel singer, and the hypocrisy she has seen in the church. But now, she has taken things to a whole new level. For years, people have whispered about Pastor Creflo Dollar, a famous televangelist with a controversial past. From his flashy lifestyle to his teachings on prosperity gospel, many have wondered if his ministry is truly about faith or just about money. What LeAndria is revealing is not just another rumor. It is something that could rock the very foundation of his empire. In this video, we will dive into what LeAndria Johnson has shared, why she is speaking out now, and how this news is impacting the church world. But here is the wildest part. This is not just about Creflo Dollar. LeAndria's words point to a much bigger problem in the gospel industry, one that many have suspected, but few have dared to talk about openly. So, what exactly did she say, and how does it tie to Creflo Dollar's past scandals? Let's jump in. LeAndria Johnson has never backed away from controversy. From the moment she won Sunday Best, she stood out. While other gospel artists showed a perfect image, LeAndria was open about her mistakes, her struggles, and her battles. But no one saw this coming. It all started during a live stream where LeAndria, in her usual raw style, began talking about corruption in the gospel industry. At first, it seemed like she was speaking broadly, calling out how some pastors and artists take advantage of their followers for money. Then, she shocked everyone by naming Pastor Creflo Dollar directly. She accused him of using his ministry to trick people into giving money with false promises. LeAndria said she saw church members pressured to donate large amounts, even when they could barely afford it. She claimed people were told they would get financial blessings if they gave, but the only one getting richer was Creflo Dollar himself. And it gets crazier. LeAndria hinted that she is not the only gospel artist who knows about this. She suggested many in the industry know about these practices, but stay quiet because speaking out could ruin their careers. So, why did LeAndria choose to speak now? And what did she see behind closed doors? The answers will blow your mind. LeAndria's decision to call out Creflo Dollar was not a sudden outburst. Sources close to her say she had been holding on to this information for years, wrestling with whether to share it. But after seeing countless churchgoers financially drained in the name of faith, she decided she could not stay silent. LeAndria shared that when she rose in the gospel industry, she saw a hidden world the public never sees. She described being invited to private events where top pastors, gospel singers, and industry leaders openly talked about the business of church. Yes, she called it a business, because that is what it is, she said. At these gatherings, she heard discussions about how to get more donations from congregations. Pastors shared tactics like using fear-based sermons, promising supernatural rewards, or even pressuring people directly. LeAndria's most serious claim was that some churches, including Creflo Dollar's, had systems to track how much members gave. She said certain leaders kept records of who donated the most, and those people got special treatment, like private meetings with the pastor, access to exclusive events, or even personal prophecies that seemed tailored to their wealth. Meanwhile, those who could not give much were often shamed for lacking faith. But the most shocking part? LeAndria claimed some pastors, including Creflo Dollar, were not just using donations for ministry work. She alleged millions of dollars were funneled into personal accounts to fund lavish lifestyles, including private jets, luxury homes, and designer clothes. While church members scraped together their last dollars to plant a so-called miracle seed, these pastors lived like royalty. LeAndria said she was even approached with offers to join these schemes. Industry insiders encouraged her to preach prosperity and financial blessings for a share of the donations. If she had agreed, she could have made millions, but it never felt right to her. She could not exploit people's faith. It gets darker. LeAndria suggested there were consequences for those who refused to stay quiet. She hinted at intimidation, blackballing, and even threats against gospel artists who questioned the system. Now that she has spoken out, what does this mean for her career? Will she face backlash from the gospel industry? And how will Creflo Dollar respond to these explosive claims? LeAndria's revelations did not come out of nowhere. For years, rumors have swirled about Creflo Dollar's massive wealth. But hearing it from someone who saw the gospel industry's inner workings made it hit harder. Creflo Dollar is no stranger to criticism. His prosperity preaching has always focused on financial giving as a path to blessings. But who is really being blessed? LeAndria claimed Creflo Dollar did not just preach prosperity, he lived it. She described his wealth as beyond what most churchgoers could imagine, with multiple luxury homes, high-end cars, and private jets. She alleged some of these assets were bought with church donations, disguised as ministry expenses. One of Creflo Dollar's most controversial moments was when he asked his congregation for $65 million to buy a Gulfstream G650, one of the world's most expensive private jets. But LeAndria claimed it was more about personal luxury. Even more troubling, LeAndria said some of the people giving this money had no idea how it was used. Many church members who tithed were struggling themselves, unable to pay rent or drowning in debt. Yet they kept giving, believing in promises of financial breakthroughs. That is how prosperity preaching works, LeAndria said. It convinces struggling people that giving more will bring God's blessings. But she argued the real blessings went to pastors like Creflo Dollar. She shared a heartbreaking story about a single mother at Creflo Dollar's church. This woman could barely make ends meet, but believed giving would bring a financial miracle. Every Sunday she gave more than she could afford. But her situation only worsened. When she asked the church for help, she was turned away. LeAndria said this was not a one-time case. Despite millions flowing into Creflo Dollar's ministry, little help was available for struggling members. When people asked for support, they were often told to have more faith. It gets worse. LeAndria claimed questioning Creflo Dollar's financial practices had serious consequences. Insiders who raised concerns were silenced through intimidation or public shaming. Some were removed from leadership roles or even kicked out of the church. She hinted that some gospel artists were blacklisted for refusing to support prosperity gospel. How has Creflo Dollar avoided accountability for so long? Is it his powerful network of allies, or are people too scared to challenge one of the biggest names in gospel? One thing is clear, LeAndria Johnson is not afraid. Her truth is forcing the gospel community to face hard realities. But the biggest shock is still coming. What LeAndria says next will challenge everything people thought they knew about prosperity preaching. Speaking out came at a huge cost for LeAndria. In the gospel industry, silence is often the price of success. those who challenge powerful pastors, LeAndria said the gospel world has an unspoken rule: do not question the system. The moment you ask where the money goes or why some pastors live like celebrities while their members struggle, you become a problem. The backlash was swift. After speaking out, LeAndria noticed people treating her differently. Radio stations that played her music began dropping her songs. Then came direct warnings from industry insiders, telling her to back off. Some said going against Creflo Dollar was career suicide. Others warned of lawsuits, smear campaigns, or being permanently blacklisted from gospel music. LeAndria realized how deep the control went. Many gospel artists are trapped in a system that stops them from being honest. Their albums sell in churches, their performances are at church events, and their livelihoods depend on keeping pastors like Creflo Dollar happy. This is not just about Creflo Dollar, LeAndria said. It is about a system built to protect wealth and power over truth. Money, influence, and fear keep people silent. Many gospel artists privately question prosperity preaching, but stay quiet because they have seen what happens to those who speak out. LeAndria was not the first to face this. She mentioned other gospel figures who tried to expose corruption but vanished from the industry. Their albums stopped being promoted, their events dried up, and some faced personal attacks to discredit them. LeAndria claimed some gospel artists are not just pressured to stay quiet. They are forced to join the deception. She alleged certain artists are told to endorse prosperity preachers, perform at their events, and support their messages even if they do not believe in them. Some are coached on what to say in interviews to make it seem like they back the system. If trusted gospel artists stand with these pastors, it makes churchgoers feel everything is okay. LeAndria said she was pressured too. She was told to preach prosperity and align with certain pastors, even if she did not agree. At the time, she felt trapped. The industry gave her a platform, and stepping out of line meant losing it. But she could not ignore the truth anymore. She saw pastors collecting millions while churchgoers stayed broke, and artists were used to keep the money flowing. She had to break free. LeAndria's breaking point came at a high-profile gospel event where she was invited to perform. It was a fancy gathering with top pastors, artists, and industry leaders. Before she went on stage, an industry insider warned her to watch what she said, telling her this was not the place for her usual real talk. At first, she was confused. She was just there to sing. But then she saw it. Pastors and executives making deals, whispering about money, and discussing which artists to push or drop. Then she witnessed something that broke her. A struggling gospel artist was offered a deal by a famous pastor, but it came with a catch. That moment crushed LeAndria. She had felt the industry's contradictions for years, but seeing an artist pressured into something they did not believe in was too much. She called it spiritual warfare, a battle in her heart. She could not keep pretending or stay part of a system that put profit over people. So, she decided to speak her truth, no matter the cost. But she did not know Creflo Dollar and his team were already watching her. The moment she started sharing what she saw, they were ready to silence her. What happened next was brutal. LeAndria knew speaking out would have consequences, but the backlash was worse than she imagined. After she began exposing the gospel industry's money games and exploitation, she became a target. At first, it was subtle. Calls for big events stopped. She knew she had lost opportunities and was risking her future in gospel music. But the truth mattered more than fame. So, she went deeper, sharing more about how money flowed in gospel circles and stories of artists pressured to stay silent. Now, Creflo Dollar and his team faced a choice: ignore her and hope she faded away, or hit back hard to send a message to anyone else thinking of speaking out. The war was on, and LeAndria was ready to fight for the truth.